Good morning, everybody. Emily here from Our Journey to Just Be. And I wanted to talk about childhood trauma today. I know I've been doing a lot of Emmy videos, but this arm right here is kind of making it hard for big editing and a lot of clicking. And so I'm having to kind of keep it simple. But there's been a lot about child trafficking, all the children going missing, lots of things out there on the internet telling us that the world's not really what we thought it was. And people like me are getting triggered daily. It's really hard lately to feel safe. It's really hard lately to keep my emotions, not feeling like I want to cry, for some silly things. Me having restless sleep, every little noise making me feel unsafe. Now, I have worked on my mental health my whole adult life, not really even necessarily realizing it, just talking a lot. I think from counseling really does help you mentally stay stable. If you're quiet and you don't talk a lot, you don't let anything out. So I think me talking a lot helps. Who would have thought? And also just me meditating and yoga for 10 years. The deep breathing that goes along with yoga is very healing. Me making sure I've been not around a lot of toxic people. So maybe I'm handling it a little bit better than some of the other children when I was a child that went through the same things as me. They maybe are having a hard time getting out of bed. They're maybe having a hard time keeping their house clean. They're maybe having a hard time just not crying and feeling emotionally unstable all day. And that's okay. That's what they've got to work through. This is a really hard year for everyone. And this Save the Children's, this Epstein, everything that's going on. But the newest thing is this Save Sophia in Texas. I watched the whole video finally this morning. I felt like I was strong enough. Somehow I didn't cry, which shows me I'm mentally stronger than I realized. I was on the brink of crying, but I didn't actually cry, knowing that this isn't the only little girl and that I went through something very similar. And it's hard to not feel like you're being heard. It's hard to feel scared to even say something. It's hard to every day and every moment of your life feel like you don't know when the abuse will happen again. That's hard for us kids that went through this even as adults. In this year 2000, every single addict or functioning addict that's not an addict, right? Which is most of us. We're all struggling mentally. And this poor Sophia is not feeling heard. And she's feeling like, why can't she just stay where she's safe? Why don't the police care? Why don't all these people I'm telling care? Why am I not being heard? My heart is feeling for you, Sophia. And that's why I'm doing this video for you, because more videos need to be out there on YouTube. I need to put out a video. Every YouTuber needs to put out a video and needs to put Save the Children and Save Sophia, whatever the hashtag is. I'll make sure I find it and I will put Sophia, you're being heard, or whatever it is, also on this video. Every single day, this is happening to a child. And that's hard for our hearts to realize. But if we're not awake, we need to wake up, because this isn't anything new. Some things I'm going to share with you right now are hard. So maybe those of you that are already going through some hard times bounce out of the video. But I'm going to tell you guys some memories that have came up that are pretty horrible, that I never remembered, that I never talked about, but that this year of 2020 has brought out. And me, somebody going to counseling for 15 plus years, me mentally knowing as an adult that this mental health was the most important thing to me, that toxic people were something that had to be eliminated from my life and to not be kept in it. Thankfully, no one for long periods of time. I was always able to get toxic people out, but that somehow through all of that counseling, through all of that talking, and through all of my mental health, these things were never remembered. Now, if you haven't bounced out already, then you're still here to hear some of the horrific things that happened to me, and that I was able to somehow bury, and that even though they triggered me this year, or this year triggered me, and that these memories have came up, and that I'm going to verbally talk about them with whoever decides to watch this video. It's kind of unnerving to know that anybody could watch this, but it's a way for me to heal. The same thing that this little girl is going through. I remember not wanting to go in to certain buildings, to certain places with my mom. I remember being kind of a jerk to her and scratching her and maybe biting even to try to not go to these places that she made me go to. Now, in saying that, that was me just not feeling safe. Little did my mom know my stepdad was the one doing it, and I would tell her and she wouldn't believe me. Or she didn't want to believe me. Or she knew and was in denial. But one thing I do know that I remembered that makes me feel pretty good about my mama is that I now have 3 very vivid memories of being kind of in dark places. Maybe it was just the energy or the place itself was not very lit. But I remember these men with the most evil of eyes. My mom trying to sell herself, which is one thing. That's her own body, okay? And still, it's not a good thing. But that's her own will. That's her own body. That's her own morals. Anytime these men, on at least 3 occasions that have popped up in my memories through this year of 2020, through all of this child, Save the Children stuff, and all of these videos and all of these things that I have watched to ensure that I know that I wasn't the only one. And I'm watching them for a healing thing because I know I can handle it. It's not going to trigger me into self-destruction. That these men asked my mother how much I was. How dare they ask how much a child is worth? Because there is no cost on a child. There is no cost on their innocence. There is no amount of money that can give that back to them. But my mother did with her good heart that she still had in there. Because I believe I could not be the person I am today if my mother was as bad as I thought she was. So thank you, Mom. Thank you for not selling me. Thank you for loving me enough to not let a man touch me that you knew of. And thank you for not wanting to get high that bad that you decided, oh, what's one time? Or being so mentally gone that you thought, whatever, she'll get over it and do it anyways. But you didn't. Another thing I remember is her saying to me, I will always be able to know if I go somewhere and mommy does what she does, and I know that they aren't into little girls. At the time, I didn't really understand what that meant. But I had a feeling it was after those times that she realized that there were people out there that would hurt me. Little did she know that her own husband was doing it to me. I have very little memory of that. I would cover my head and I would try to go somewhere else. And I would just hurt down there for a few days after the abuse. Now, I am sharing this with you guys. For those of you that need to know, it's a real thing. And that mental health is out there because of what happened to us when we were children. And we didn't deal with those mental traumas. So in saying that, my video is kind of running long here. I want you all to know that if never shared, that maybe you're getting triggered and you don't want to tell anybody because you know it's going to be hard. Do it. Because it's going to get even harder and you're going to lose yourself, the life you have completely, if you don't start talking about it. All right. I love you all. And I hope that some of these stories helped you realize you're not alone and that you can get through it, because I have. Somehow I didn't cry. I almost did, but I didn't, because I'm pretty dang strong. So do what you have to. Become a mess so you can work through the mess. But every day you've got to do something. Meditate, do yoga, counsel, do what you've got to. But those of you struggling with addiction, it's not just addiction. It's a mental health. So if you've now kicked the addiction, now mental health is the next thing you got to work on. All right. So I love you all. At the end of this video, I'll be adding some helplines, some things for just addiction counseling. Maybe if you fell off the wagon and we've got to jump back on that. But I'm doing what I can to help you all that are struggling. And meditation is keeping me afloat. And yoga is a little limited because of this, but I'm still doing what I can. I love you all. Please know you're not alone. Save the children. Thank you guys so much for watching. And I'll see you next time.